Welcome back then, folks, to day one of special projects yet again for pack number 20. This week will be 200 cars in these packs over the past couple of years, as well as, of course, numerous individual little tunes here and there, and hundreds of others back in the GT6 and Sport days as well. We are kicking off with a vehicle that you absolutely knew was coming, just like when the Lamborghini LP560 was announced, and we knew that that was going to have a racing version as well. This one, of course, is a C5R Racing Corvette. For this one, the livery is all down to you. There are so many famous teams, so many successful teams. The more obvious choice was to go down the classic C5R route from Gran Turismo's past, which looks kind of similar, but it has the white down the sides as well. That's part of the reason why I actually didn't do that, and also in terms of the spec, it is a bit different. So I'm working with a couple of these builds in more so, sacrilegious as it sounds, kind of a Forza approach, and even this particular livery is more like the kind of C5R that you would see in like Forza 4, for example, rather than Gran Turismo. So as far as the visuals go, of course you do want the wide body for this one. If you like this particular livery and you just want to grab it as is, then of course it will apply the visual stuff as well, like the body kit. Well, not the wide body, but the aero parts, you know what I mean, the rear wing, that kind of stuff. So as far as the build, thankfully, you can actually get it naturally aspirated to be pretty much exactly the horsepower that we need, which is about 620. So as you can see, it's 617. And 1150 kilos. And this, of course, is from that peak era of post Toyota Nissan rivalry kind of era GT1, and more so into the Maserati MC12, Celine S7, Ferrari 550, that kind of more modern approach to GT1, if you will. Still super iconic, and for many of us, you probably grew up playing games with cars like this in both Gran Turismo and Forza and really fell in love with them. Now, as far as the actual build, of course, for the Ultimate section, if we jump down there first, you can see there's nothing that's really going to interfere aside from the high lift cams. So if you go for the high lift, in fact, you may as well just work this way and then go back to the start. So your high lift cams, the titanium rods, the carbon prop, you don't necessarily have to go for that, but why not? You know, it's a race car at the end of the day, so it's a bit of fun. We've got the, of course, stage 1 weight. It has the sports hard tyres as standard, as you would assume. So the high lift cams are, of course, cancelled out by the high lift S cams, so you don't need to worry about that. We've got the bored out engine, the high compression pistons as well. As far as the weight loss, again, stage 2, of course, the power restrictor and the ballast. For the semi-racing stuff, of course, the ECU, the crank, the diff, stage 3 weight as well. You could, of course, go for the body rigidity. Curiously, it makes no difference at all on point level, which is quite rare. You don't often find a car that doesn't go up or down. So, I mean, it's 25 grand to not even change the point level. If you want to do it, I guess you could. I wouldn't say after trying it that you really need to be honest. As far as the racing stuff, of course, you want your polished ports, the balance tuning for the engine. You actually don't need to stroke out the engine for this one. The racing filter, silencer, and manifold. The pads, the discs. Of course, if you want to go for ceramics, it doesn't quite visually fit, but you could. The drilled or slotted, I'll leave that up to you. As far as the clutch, of course, we've got race spec, likewise with the transmission and suspension, and of course, the racing hards. If you do want to go for softs or mediums, of course, that's down to you as always. As far as the extreme stuff, I've actually not opted to go for anything there, even the steering angle adapter, and of course we were already on the Ultimate section. So the main thing that I really wanted when I first got this car, back when the update came out, was I was really hoping that we could get it up to the right amount of power without having to sacrifice the aspiration, if you will. I did not want it to be a supercharged C5R because although, you know, it's doable, it just doesn't feel right to have to do that. So I'm really happy that you can get it to pretty much the perfect power level without using a supercharger or a turbo or a motor swap. So, 743 points is fairly modest. That's not too bad, actually. It's, what's that, kind of similar in some cases to some of the Group 3 stuff, especially period correct stuff. So, we've got the racing hards fitted, of course, for the suspension, 75mm and 80, which respectively isn't crazy low, and I didn't want it to bottom out too much, which even still seems to be a bit of an issue here and there on certain cars, some definitely more than others, and they have cleaned it up a bit, but like I said, that issue does still remain to some degree. 5 even overall on the anti-roll, 35 and 40 for the dampers, 3.35 for the springs themselves, 2 degrees of camber, A little bit of toe on the front at 0.5 and 0.20 on the rear, so nothing too crazy there for the suspension, and it is, as I'm sure pretty much everyone has already found by this point, a really good car to work with. In standard form, it's okay, nothing too special, but when you modify it, it is very, very receptive, in a very similar way to its peak rival at the time, the Viper. They're both very, very responsive cars to tuning and modification in pretty much every single Gran Turismo game. As far as the diff, I've personally opted for 10, 40 and 40. Give that a try. If you already have a setup for the diff that you prefer, of course you could go for that. If you don't like what I've done, well, that's the beauty of it. You could always just change it to something else or mess around, but give that one a try and see what you think. As far as the auto setting, yes, it's a 620 horsepower car, but it's still got a lot of downforce. It's not really a top-end build, so I've only got 320 on the auto setting, so up around like 205-ish miles an hour, so nothing too crazy. Like I said, you want 51 kilos of ballast to bring us up to 1150. I've got that all the way to the rear, which is still a little bit front biased, but still a 5149. That's a pretty good weight to be working with in terms of the split. As far as the ECU, we've got no power restriction. For the downforce, I have opted more for the grip end of the spectrum. So if you want more top-end speed and top-end acceleration, then of course you could change that. And over here, there's really nothing much else to do because you saw me fit it all anyway. So all that remains is to jump out to a track. I decided to change things up a bit, and rather than the more expected, Laguna Seca or Le Mans, I thought, let's take it out to something like a classic Gran Turismo track instead. So I took it out to High Speed Ring. Now, usually when I do these special projects builds, when it comes to actually using them, there'll be some kind of advice, when to use it, the best kind of event, maybe something to watch out for if it's a bit more of a challenging build, etc. With this one though, there's none of that. You can literally just jump into the car, attack the track, and have a ton of fun. It's smooth, it's extremely forgiving, massive amounts of grip. Even if you don't do any of the other builds from this week, I think you'll enjoy this one quite a bit. And of course the beauty of it is, even if you just stick to these kind of specs, or I guess if you wanted to go for more strictly like a Gran Turismo 6 style approach, if you wanted to do a replica of that, there are so many different liveries to choose from, it's pretty much endless in terms of which team you want to represent. Even if you, for example, go back to the days of Forza 3 and Forza 4, you've got the Tiger Racing, you've got the one that looks more like this, you've got the blue and red team, I don't recall what brand that was, but there's so many different variations, and of course players have done so many different liveries. So if you decide to use this, I hope you enjoy it. It's a fantastic car to drive in race replica form, and you can tell of course they knew that players were going to do that because of stuff like the wide body and the aero, which is great to see. So of course I will see you yet again later today with the second build, and to spoil that one, it's for the Ferrari FXX, so starting pretty heavy this week with a couple of heavy hitters immediately, and of course stick around for the rest of the week in terms of special projects pack number 20. I'll see you then, and thanks for watching.